He doesn't deserve this, especially from Batiste. Batiste keeps saying he gets all this female attention. I'm just thinking, what? You must be catching people on ovulation when they're weak, honey. Hi guys, welcome back to the Shannon Show. Hello if you're new. So today's video is going to be a review, chat, rant, kiki, psychological analysis of the first 4 episodes of Love is Blind Season 3. I hope everybody is doing as well as can be, and I really do hope everybody is being as proactive as possible in supporting the Black Lives Matter movement. And if you're still on the lookout for some resources, I've linked some in the description. Feel free to comment down below your thoughts on my commentary. I'm always up for a chat, I'm always up for debate, and if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. And if you didn't, give it a dislike, no hard feelings. And if you really like this video, consider subscribing and helping your girl out. So, Love is Blind Season 3. We're back with another season. I haven't watched season 1, but I did watch season 2. I actually have a full reaction series on that on my Patreon. So if you want to see that, check out my Patreon. I should have really uploaded it by now, but my uploading schedule has been a bit everywhere. So I'll probably upload that after this series is finished. But if you want to watch it right now, it's on my Patreon. But yeah, last season was a mess, an absolute mess. I enjoyed it, but it was an absolute mess. You had 2 couples marry and they're both divorced, and I saw it coming. So of course when I saw season 3 was happening, I was like, yes, more trash TV, don't mind if I do. Going into this, I did want mess, I did want drama, but I did want to, save some space for messy me to actually see a couple that is generally in love, because it is a dating show at the end of the day, and yes, it is fun to see these horrible, messy train wreck couples, but I was missing that genuine love, that undeniable, oh my god, these people are perfect for each other from last season. I did want at least one. We did not get. We kind of thought that we might have got it at the end. It was very clear that was not the case. So going in, that's what, I was hoping for. I was hoping for mess, I was hoping for drama, but I was hoping for at least one genuine couple. And after watching the first 4 episodes, I don't think there is. I feel like these couples are actually worse than last year. But first off, I want to talk about my first impressions of each individual person in the dating show. So first off, we have Nancy. She's in her 30s. She's flirty. She's fun. She's ready to pop out these babies. She's serious. She wants a husband. She wants a family. I think she definitely knows what she wants in a partner. I think right now she's just trying to make things work with the cards that she's been dealt. But she's very self-aware of, what she wants and what she doesn't want. Right now, I like Nancy. I think she's a genuine person. I think she will make a great partner. I want the best for my girl. Then we've got Batiste. He's one of the younger ones. He's 25. He's coming out the gate saying, yeah, I'm young, but, I'm serious. I'm one of the rare ones that are serious. And I was just like, And, that was a straight for me, because 25-year-olds, like, in my experience, 25-year-olds, they are still very immature. They're not ready to settle down. They still want to stick their dicks in people, still in their playboy phase. But they are a few rare ones that, are really, trying to settle down, trying to have a wife, trying to have a family. Do the young family thing. They generally want that, but it's very rare. But I thought, let me give Batiste the benefit of the doubt. Sure enough, he revealed himself to be a playboy. But I'll get more into that a bit later on. He's a playboy, but I feel like he definitely has the potential to bring some interesting drama to the series. So I'm hoping that he brings that. Then we have Raven. She's 27. She's the light-skinned baddie. For me personally, I feel like that's all she really offers. I do not see her as a serious candidate. I definitely feel like she applied for this series for clout. And I think it was a thing where if it works out, great. If it doesn't, I've got a few more, followers for my Instagram. Those are the vibes that I'm given. For me personally, she does not possess the fundamental things that you need for a relationship, let alone a marriage. She gave me very much uninterested. I'm sensing a bit of a princess complex from her. It's very obvious she knows her brand. I'm sure she does not have trouble getting into a relationship. At first, I kind of thought, she was, at that point where it's like, most of the time people like her for her looks, and now she's just trying to find someone she can connect with on a deeper level. And that's why she's gone on this show, because she's sick of just being objectified and just being with men who are like literally have nothing to offer besides their money. But, you know, just the way that she's moving, you know, some of her behaviours just makes me feel like she's just unserious. In terms of how I feel about her, I feel very neutral about her, but I feel like she may have potential to cause mess. Yeah, but I'm not entirely sure if she'll bring it. I feel like she's been very self-aware, very self-edited. But there's been a few moments when she's been a bit messy, especially when it was like kind of like her and Nancy for Batiste. You saw, you know, the claws coming out a little bit, saw the mean girl coming out a little bit. And I was hoping for a little bit more. So yeah, I'm hoping that, you know, if she is to bring anything, it will be some mess. There's mess potential there. Then we have Colleen. She's 25, and I don't know about Colleen. For me, she gives off fake vibes. At first I was thinking maybe she's like a hopeless romantic, but then for me it's just becoming incredibly clear that she's a bit fake. And not necessarily like in a malicious way. I feel like it's just she is a performer and she is here for the romanticization of marriage, and she's here for the performance of marriage. When it comes to like the skeleton of the relationship, is paper mache. After a rainy day, it's gonna be mush. I feel like her aspiration is to be, you know, what's it called? That Christian girl autumn calendar. I feel like that's what her aspiration is. She wants the pictures, wants the picture perfect marriage, but like just the picture. Like when it comes to all the other things that, you know, when it comes to the more serious stuff and the emotional stuff, I think that's when she checks out, and that's not going to make for a long-lasting marriage. And she was really desperate to get this ring. She wasn't trying to go back to her hometown and now everybody chatting shit about her like, oh, she went on Love is Blind and she didn't get nobody. She was determined, and I'm very suspicious of her motives. I do feel like it's clout mixed with the idea and the romanticization of marriage. I'm especially interested to hear people's thoughts about Colleen, because I feel like it might be split. I feel like there's going to be people who have felt for the act and some people who are not buying it. I, for one, I'm not buying what Colleen is selling. Then we have Cole. He's like mid-20s. He's a realtor, and instantly he was giving Shane vibes. A bit less cracked up. I'm not sure, maybe less problematic than Shane. Shane is so problematic. But maybe like Shane's cousin. He was giving those vibes. He's also very picky, but like, it's like, I feel like it's just a weird pickiness. Like he says that he doesn't do nurses. He doesn't give a reason. And yeah, it just feels like the things that he's picky about doesn't really make sense. And it just kind of feels like, well, what do you want? Like it feels like he wants a very rigid type. And I just feel like people like that, an experiment is just never going to work for them, because they're always going to, you know, be comparing the person that they end up with their perfect image. He also says that he's a banter boy. He likes someone who he can banter with. And I just feel like men who emphasize that, like, it's another red flag for me. I feel like he would have on his dating profile, like, wants someone who doesn't take life too seriously. I feel like that's what his dating profile will say. He's also been married and divorced, and that whole, like, it was a whirlwind romance. So the whole relationship, including the marriage, was over with within 6 months. And that is a massive red flag. Like, what? For me, I think it's very clear why he's single and why he probably will continue to be single for a long time. I feel like there were bits in the pods where I was like, okay, maybe he really have a go at this experiment, like, you know, really, you know, leave his superficial hang-ups. But then as soon as you're allowed to see people's faces again, you see them come back. So I don't feel like this experiment is going to work for him. I feel like maybe marriage could work with him, but it would be like with someone who has like no self-worth and no self-esteem or needs a visa. That's the only conclusions I can see where he will find a way. And then we have SK. He's Nigerian. I believe he like literally lives in Nigeria and he's just in America studying. I think what was quite funny about SK is that he starts off in the beginning saying he loves the whole concepts of the pods because people don't know your race. And then literally the first thing in the pod that he says is that he's Nigerian. He literally could not help himself. I'm not really sure about SK's intentions. I feel like he has a lot of qualities to be a good partner and even a good husband. But I'm not really sure why he's come on this show, to be honest. One, he's an international student. he's just finished school and he's going into grad school. I'm not sure how that's going to work now, marrying a stranger. Fair enough if you met someone whilst you were studying and now you're getting married because you're in love. But I'm not sure how that's now going to work as you marrying a stranger, because grad school is very demanding. And then there's the fact that you're an international student coming to America to find a wife. It's kind of giving 90 Day Fiancé. Kind of giving like, you want that dual citizenship. But I'd be interested to hear from you guys. What do you think about SK? Do you feel like he's here with genuine intentions? So then we have Brennan, and again, another person I'm not sure on. He's kind of giving nice guy, sad guy vibes. Quite a bit of trauma dumping, which to me is a bit of a red flag. A lot of love bombing. It's a bit of a red flag. I feel like I don't really know who he is. For me, again, it feels like he's kind of giving a performance, but I'm still in the point where I'm suspicious, but I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt until, like, you know, the mask comes off or it stays on. Who knows? But for me, I'm not completely sold on Brennan. So that's definitely another character that I think people are going to be split on, whether they believe that he's genuine or they kind of feel like he's fake. So yeah, let me know what you guys think. Then we have Alexa. She's a bigger girl. I feel like this is the first like main character that we've seen that is a bigger girl. And what is so refreshing about Alexa is that she's not coming with the sub story. She said, bitch, I love to eat. Yes, I could lose weight, but I like to eat. So, bitch, I'ma eat. Period. Alexa, she seems very serious. Again, she's actually here genuinely looking for marriage. I think she's very clear about what her fundamentals are. Like, you know, her partner has to accept this and this about her. I'm not sure if she's done proper due diligence though, which I'll talk about later. I'm not sure if she's done her proper due diligence. But I think she's definitely very observant. I don't think she is naive, in the sense that she has got a little guard up, but I think that's a safe thing for her to do. So yeah, I'm interested to see how her journey goes. And then we have Andrew. Andrew right off the gate was very creepy. He was a massive red flag. Like, he was shining bright red. For me, he's a very creepy guy. Off the bat, being sexual, like, and like, it's just like, it's not even, you know, the normal sexual question. It was like he was trying to like recruit for like a sex cult that like does their activities out in the rainforest. Like, it was like, what's going on here? He was very obnoxious. Like, I feel like he's somebody who would read Shakespeare just to recite it to impress people, but also like want praise for like reading Shakespeare. He gives those vibes. And yeah, just very flashy, but like off-puttingly flashy. Like, he's somebody who just like, he obviously lives a very luxurious lifestyle, and he feels like telling people that is enough to impress them, and they're going to be like, wow, now I want to be with you because you have, you know, access to this luxurious lifestyle. It's giving the vibes of like rich men who have literally nothing else to offer but their money. Like, their personality is boring. Like, you're on the date, but you're just like, oh my god, I wish you would shut up. You know, you can't even enjoy the person's money because you're just disgusted by this person. And yeah, a lot of like, you know, narcissistic and weird behavior. And then we have Matt. He seems like a fun guy. He seems to be very positive. He seems like a relationship guy who wants to be in a relationship. I feel like he generally does want to be married. I feel like he clearly is a marriage man if he's ready to be married again after having like a horrible marriage. So I guess he is a marriage guy, but I feel like there's potential for entertainment in terms of, you know, seeing how his relationship pans out. So now moving on to the pods and the relationships that developed inside the pod. So one of our first developing relationships were Batiste and Raven. At first I thought they were cute. It looked like it had potential. You know, Raven opened up to him a bit, you know, said that she's a bottle girl. Like, would you be okay with that? Because, you know, in past relationships, you know, men haven't been okay with her, you know, working in the club scene. He said that was okay, you know, if I'm secure in my relationship. Raven is probably his type. So I feel like that's what fueled the majority of the relationship, Batiste's perceived attraction of Raven. I feel like Raven was clearly not interested in Batiste. She was like, he was opening up to her and she was literally doing jumping jacks. Like, that was fucking weird. I don't know what the fuck that was about. I kind of just feel like Do you not have any time in the day where you can do your workouts? That was fucking weird. Maybe that was like a coping mechanism. Maybe she like, you know, is hyperactive. I don't know. But that was weird. Obviously, Batiste checked her on that. And after that, it was very clear that, you know, Batiste wasn't really feeling like, you know, she was putting as much energy as he was into the relationship. And I feel like that's when things sort of fizzled. And I feel like that's when Batiste started assessing other options. I feel like there were some parts when Batiste and Raven was talking that she tried to almost it seems put him off her. Like, I feel like there was a lot of time where she opened up with him and it was like really unnecessary, like when she told him she had dated an older wealthy man and she had something, she was still in possession of something that he had given her, and like whether that would be weird. And I just kind of feel like if my ex bought me a car, like I wouldn't need to tell my new boo like, this is it, you like this car, like my ex bought me it. Hopefully that's not weird, like, bitch, because I'm keeping it regardless. I'm guessing it was a car or maybe her like Pilates business. I don't know what it was, but I feel like that was unnecessary to bring up. I don't really feel like things like that need to be disclosed. It's not that deep, in my opinion, if you guys are not together. But I feel like she was subconsciously telling him like, I'm a baddie, I get what I want, I better kept woman, you know, I've been with ballers, subliminally telling him that, because he kind of was like, oh, you know, I can't like buy you Rolexes and stuff like that. And she was like, oh, you know, I'm not saying you should do that, you know, that, you know, that's the type of lifestyle that I wanted, and that, you know, I wouldn't even be here. And I just kind of feel like, girl, what's going on here? Are you trying to put him off you, or are you trying to insinuate that he needs to get his money up? I was a bit confused. How did you guys kind of decipher that conversation? Which moves me on to Nancy and Batiste. You know, they had really good friendly chemistry. They had good conversations. They opened up to each other. Nancy revealed that, you know, she was an egg donor and she could have up to 100 biological children out there. And she was telling, you know, Batiste, and she was like, you know, is that okay? You know, hopefully that's not a bit too weird. And he was like, oh, that doesn't matter to me. And I was just thinking, you're a fucking liar. You are a fucking liar. You just heard somebody say like, I could have 100 biological kids, and you're just like brushing that off like it was nothing. You are a liar. For me personally, like multiple donors like that, like you could have like 100 kids out there, it's not gonna work, honey. Because I've seen those TikToks of people finding their biological fathers and mothers on Ancestry DNA. I do not need that drama. I do not need that confusion for my kids when we decide to have kids. No. Of course, Nancy, you're on a show like this. For me, that would be a deal breaker if you're like donoring all these babies out here. So everything is going well between Batiste and Nancy, but they do hit a little hiccup when the age gap becomes apparent. Obviously, Batiste is 25. I think Nancy's like 31, 32. I think there's 6 years. There's 6 years between them. And she's just like, she heard 25 and she was like, dang. If I was her age and I heard he was 25, yeah, it would be a dang for me as well. And that's when Nancy kind of put Batiste on ice a little bit and started exploring other options. And her other option was Andrew. And when she started talking to Andrew, I was like, girl, be for real. Be fucking for real, bitch. Really? Are you that desperate? Are you that desperate? I know Andrew, he has money, but please, respect yourself. Respect yourself. Even if you're going to go for money, you need to at least make sure that he is sane and you're not going to end up fucking murdered. Because Andrew gives serial killer vibes, like giving cult leader vibes. I get it. You want 10 kids. You need 10 kids money, but like, you don't want to be, you know, living your life of luxury stressed, honey. Like every time the door opens and he comes through, you're having a little panic attack. No, hon. No. And I feel like she definitely was seriously considering picking Andrew, and I don't even think that door is closed yet with Andrew, but we'll talk about that a bit later. So then we have Cole and Colleen. It seems like on paper they seem like a good physical fit, but Cole is just a walking red flag. But interestingly, in these interactions with Cole and Colleen was also looking like a red flag. And I feel like obviously Cole has a lot of red flags, but he was exposing Colleen's red flags, which was very interesting. So at first it was going well, but then it kind of started going downhill. And Cole was even shading her at one point. I think he said something about like, oh, like, we would have really beautiful kids, but we would be poor. And that's when I was like, what do you mean? Because obviously she's a ballerina. I'm not sure how much ballerinas get paid. I'm guessing it's not that much, especially since he's on the show, honey. That was also something to note, because I feel like Cole, obviously he's a realtor. He probably makes a decent amount of money, but it seems like he's not wanting to be like the sole breadwinner. He wants his partner to have a good job as well, which is quite interesting. I feel like Cole gives me the vibes of he wants 50-50 rent, but then his wife would still be doing all of the cleaning, all of the cooking, and all of the child rearing. Then we have Cole and Zainab. That was an interesting pair. I didn't really see a connection happening. And at first, I kind of didn't really see much chemistry there. But, you know, slowly and surely it started to become a bit more friendly. But I didn't really see much romance. And I kind of felt like Zainab was definitely more into Cole than Cole was into Zainab. She's saying she was praying for him, and I was just thinking, in your prayers, did you not hear a voice saying, girl, ditch him? You need to listen, maybe you need to listen a bit harder in your next prayer, honey. I feel like Cole, again, I feel like in his mind, he wants a wife, and in this instance, he was, you know, before he had seen her, he was trying to make it work. And, you know, he almost told me, like, oh, maybe he could be, like, a decent husband. But from what I had seen, the red flags that I've seen, I don't know. I'm not sure about this particular connection. And we had Brennan and Colleen, and they were getting along quite well, but he cut that short because he decided that, you know, he had met someone, and that was his person. So he cut that off really quick. So we didn't really see that develop into much. Like, I can't really say it was a connection. They were kind of just talking and it didn't go anywhere. So we have a connection between Cole and Matt. I definitely feel like Matt was like Colleen's plan C because her other connections were not working out. So she went with plan C, which was Matt. And again, they seemed fun. I feel like Colleen definitely changed her strategy the third time around. So they seemed to get on very well. But again, it was very like performative, very artificial. I feel like Matt is genuine. So far, I feel like Matt is genuine, but Colleen, again, it seems like she was definitely putting a bit more effort than she did in her other connections, but ultimately, it just didn't really seem genuine. Then we have Alexa and Brennan. Their relationship went very fast. It seemed like they bonded very quickly. They shared a lot of stuff very quickly. And they were our first solid relationship. On paper, it seems like a good-ish connection, but I definitely feel like there's definitely a lot of things that they skirt over. Alexa, she wants a family. I think she wants a big family. And Brennan said, yeah, he wants the same. But then he basically said, you know, that money, he's not really money driven. He's not financially driven. We all know kids cost money down the line unless he wants to commit to, you know, something that's going to pay the bills, because right now it seems like he's just, you know, living life, and that's all well and good when it's just you, but you know, when you are now in a marriage, finances do matter, and I don't think he's necessarily serious about his finances. So I feel like that's when they might clash in terms of lifestyle, because I feel like he's definitely like, you know, about the humble life. I'm not sure Alexa is. And especially when you want to start making kids, the humble life, it's really not going to cut it, honey. It's not going to cut, especially if you want multiple kids. Another thing that I'm not entirely sure on is, obviously, Alexa, she said that a big fundamentals of her is that partner has to accept that she's Jewish, and that, you know, she's a proud Israeli. You know, he says he doesn't have a problem with it, but I feel like with those things, you definitely need to inquire with the family. How does the family think? Because he's talking about he's from, you know, he's a country boy, he's a redneck, his family are rednecks, and I feel like with that type of community, not all of them are going to be accepting. She definitely didn't investigate as much as she should have, in my opinion, because even when he was talking about, you know, rednecks, he kind of switched it up, like as if to say, like, he mentally noted, like, you know, people associating negative things with rednecks, racism, anti-Semitism, etc. That's why he changed it up to, you know, country. So I just kind of feel like, is that going to be an issue? Because you felt the need that you had to correct yourself. So for me, I feel like that could be an issue down the line. And then, of course, SK and Raven. Obviously, Raven and Batiste's connection kind of fizzled out a bit, and then Raven started turning her attention to SK. They seemed like they got together on a more emotional level. Seems SK seems very emotionally intelligent. They opened up to each other, and this time when SK was opening up, Raven wasn't working out. She was actually sitting down on the couch and listening. So, at this point in the pods, it seemed like they had potential. And obviously, notable, SK is well off. He has money to study in America. The international student fees are not a joke. Dad has 2 wives. That's 2 wives and then probably 2 sets of kids as well. You need money to maintain that. So obviously SK is well off. Raven has insinuated that she has, dated a lot of well off men. So I feel like that's, that maybe solidified the connection for her. You give me the lifestyle that I like. I give you the green card. A mutually beneficial arrangement. I felt like their connection was promising, but I wasn't entirely buying it, to be honest. I just kind of felt like it was convenient that they got together. But I felt like at the time, in the pods, their connection was promising. Following on in the pods, obviously, we did see a few rejections. Some taken well, some not. The first rejection was Brennan rejecting Colleen. He did that really quick. They didn't really develop much. I think Brendan was concerned whether he was being rude or something like that. I don't think he was. I do think it's quite interesting, that whole interaction when he was saying I hope I wasn't rude, but if I was, then oh well. I thought that was an amber flag, because I feel like you definitely could have worded that with a bit more empathy, and the lack of empathy was, even though it wasn't that deep, there was a lack of empathy, which I was just a bit personally. But Colleen, obviously, she had a breakdown. That did not go well. I don't think she's used to being rejected. Obviously, he had a stronger connection with Alexa, and he just felt like there's no point pursuing anyone else when I know I want Alexa, which was fair. And then poor Colleen gets rejected again by Cole. Back to back, a bit brutal. I definitely feel like Cole had a valid reason to, kind of reject Colleen. He could sense the bullshit. He could sense the fakeness. He was basically in a relationship, it's only going to work if, we go deeper, if we open up to each other. She basically says she doesn't want to open up. She just wants to keep things fun. And you know what? I kind of get that. I don't really feel like in a relationship you must divulge your deepest and darkest secrets. It is a bit of a red flag. I feel like, because I'm not sure if that's what she meant. I just kind of feel like she's just she doesn't really want to talk about deep feelings, period. And that's not going to work when you do need to talk about it. Fair enough if you want to keep things light for the most part, but you're just not talking about anything at all. It's not sustainable. I think it's understandable if you don't want to talk about your deepest and darkest trauma, to a stranger that you literally just met. Maybe she wanted to keep her cards close to her chest. Yeah, I feel like that was a fair reason for Cole to, reject her. Colleen did not take it well. She was crying to the girl. She was misrepresenting the situation. She tried to flip it and was like, oh, he called me shallow and it was so unfair. And I was like, he did not do that, girl. It was giving white tears. I feel like she was being very manipulative there, and that was another red flag. If she's to get called out on her fakeness, or if she's going to get called out on something, the white tears are going to come, honey. Obviously, the connection with Raven and Batiste is not working out, and Batiste tries to break up with Raven. And before he could even really do it, Raven was just She basically finished the breakup and broke up with him before he could break up with her. Basically was like, okay, you like Nancy, we're not compatible, I feel the same. It's all good, basically. Before he could basically say it himself. And I could tell that Batiste was so livid that she kind of interrupted his breakup to break up with him. He definitely wanted to get the enjoyment of being the one who broke up with Raven, being the one who got to reject Raven. I know he was pissed at that ambush, because even when he was telling the boys, he wasn't really saying, oh, it was a mutual breakup. He was like, oh, it was between her and Raven, and I just had to pick Nancy. That's not what happened. That's not what happened, Batiste. So yeah, for me, That was an orange flag. I could see Batiste clearly wanted to enjoy breaking up with Raven. Don't get me wrong, like, yeah, bitch, I want to be the one to break up with you before you can be the one to break up with me, when it's clear that, you know, it's not going well on both sides. But for me, he was a bit too invested in wanting to, you know, hurt her feelings, in my opinion. So that was an amber flag. So Batiste basically like sticks it on Nancy and says, you know, I want to be with you, like, you know, and only you. Basically a trial proposal. And Nancy puts him on ice. So now Raven has hijacked his breakup and broke up with him. And Nancy has basically rejected his proposal attempt. Another double homicide. Batiste's ego was just hurt. Okay, that's left the door open for Andrew to propose. Is Nancy gonna say yes to this fucking psycho? Nancy, no. Surely not. Surely not. Surely at 30, like, you're a grown-ass woman. Surely you see the red flag shining. And Andrew proposes. She comes to the wall. Desmond thinks he's gonna say yes. But Nancy, she already peeped the game. She already peeped the bullshit. She tells him no, and yeah, it's basically like, you know, she can smell the bullshit. She can tell that he's putting on this show and that he's being deceptive. Period. I was like, I know that's right, bitch. And then after Nancy rejects Andrew, there's this bit where he's like putting eye drops in his eyes under the guise, you know, of normal eye drops, but then also kind of using them as fake tears, you know, and pretending to be like distraught over Nancy rejecting him. And like there was an interaction between the producers and him, and he was like, oh, is it okay that I'm putting eye drops in my eye? And I'm like, yeah, if it's just like for like your eyes. And then another shot to him saying, you know, she's the only person that's brought tears to my eyes. And it was given serial killer monologue, like weird. I would not feel safe in a room with Andrew. I don't know if it was editing. I don't know whether he was an actor, because the way that he was just doing it on camera does not make sense. Does not make sense to me. And also, this season was filmed back to back with season 2, so it's not like he's had time to watch Abhishek, you know, be rinsed online and stuff like that. So he doesn't even know about, you know, the diabolicalness of season 2 yet, because it's been filmed back to back. So I don't know whether it was editing or whether he's just like, I don't know, a narcissist. I don't know. Our first engagement was Alexa and Brennan. They got out the gate first. They were the first engagement on the first episode. I didn't really sense any chemistry from the first meet. I feel like they like each other as people, but I'm not really seeing like romantic chemistry. I think the first thing that he said to her is that you smell so good. And for me, I don't know, some people might think it's just a little thing, but I just kind of feel like surely the first thing that you would say is, you are beautiful. Oh my God, you look so gorgeous. You look so this. It took him a while for him to say it. It took him until they were on the bench for him to actually say, oh, you're gorgeous, you're beautiful, you know, something like that. I just kind of feel like usually that's the first thing that people say, you know, when they're attracted to you. They will, you know, tell you that you look good. So for me, I don't know. Obviously, Love is Blind is a whole different thing. So, you know, physical attraction or romantic attraction being there at the beginning is not necessarily a bad thing if it's not there at the beginning. But I feel like it should be. I feel like that's like, you know, it's going to last if you have that passion there from the beginning. For me, I didn't see romantic chemistry in that first meeting. Then we had Cole and Zainab. You know, their first meet was very upbeat. They were both very excited. There was chemistry, but for me it was more of a friendly chemistry than a romantic chemistry. So for me, I felt like from that first interaction it was promising, but for me it kind of felt like more friendly vibes than romantic. Then we had SK and Raven's engagement, and on their first meet, it was just awkward. So awkward. I think they were both very nervous, but it was just very instinctively awkward, and I couldn't really gauge from it because it was just so awkward and nervous. I was thinking, are they just nervous to meet each other? But for me, the whole thing just felt very awkward. Like they were both uncomfortable. Because they were like swaying from side to side, as like they didn't know what to do. Then we had Batiste and Nancy, and they were the only ones with like romantic physical chemistry. Like right off the bat, you could see they had a lot of chemistry. And I thought at this point their relationship was very promising. Despite my reservations about certain things, I thought, you know, okay, this can work. So I thought. Then we have our last but not least, Colleen with her plan C, Matt. And again, on the surface, it seems like they're so in love. It seems romantic. But for me, it just felt, again, very calendar-like, very fake, very performative. Again, she likes the idea and the romanticization of marriage. But was she really excited to see Matt? I don't think so. I think she was excited to be a fiance and meet her other fiance. But was she excited to meet Matt? I don't think so. It felt very performative to me. So, then we move on to the out of pods experience when they go on their little holiday before they start meeting family and whatnot. And at first, Nancy and Batiste seemed like they were going strong. It seemed like they were a very promising couples before they met the other couples. Alexa and Brennan's love bombing is continuing, and I feel like Alexa is definitely low-key peeping that. I definitely feel like she's on that thing where it's like, you know, it's going well, so I'm going to enjoy it while it's going well, but if red flags start to pop up, I'm not going to be surprised. I definitely feel like she doesn't 100% believe the love bombing, because, you know, there's occasions where she's like, oh, are you sure? Are you sure? Or good? And things like that, like very short-worded answers. So I feel like she's very aware that it is love bombing, and now she's just like, is this love bombing going to sustain itself, or is it just gonna be like typical? Am I gonna start seeing the real shit, you know? Then SK and Raven, the awkwardness continues. It just does not stop. They're just very awkward together. Raven is very self-aware of how she looks. Like, she's basically, they had a conversation. She was like, you know, it's a bit awkward. Like, I get in my head, and like in my head I'm calm, but like I know my body is like giving standoffish. And at first I was thinking, okay, maybe they just need a little bit more time. Obviously they're strangers, they're on TV. Maybe they just need time, you know, to be comfortable. SK is basically saying, you know, I can be patient. That's not a problem, you know. I want things to be natural. Like, I don't want you to feel pressured. And that was all cute, but like, I was just kind of thinking, like, it's either like it's just a bit awkward and they're gonna ease into things, or like she's already got the ick and she's trying to fight through the ick, and trying to make it work until she can no longer stand the ick anymore. That's what I was thinking at that point. But I was leaning more towards she's already got the ick. Then we have Colleen and Matt, and again, they're still being very performative. Even Matt, at some points, I feel like he was being performative, but more so Colleen. And then Cole and Zainab, at first, it started to go very well. It seemed like they were, you know, friendly. They had banter, but there was some bits of banter where I kind of felt like, is Cole kind of insulting her? I'm not really sure. I was like kind of confused. Like, is he insulting her? Is he not? I'm not really sure. And then, you know, they got intimate, and the next day the vibes were off. And they had a conversation, and they basically like both said like, you know, it's not really like how it was like in the pods. Like, it's a bit different now outside of the pods. But they said that they're both gonna work on things. But I don't know. I don't think it's going to work. I definitely feel like this should be the honeymoon phase, and I'm not really getting that. So I definitely feel like the ick is building for both of them. Zainab is kind of complaining that there's a lack of romance, and I can definitely see that. Like, he's, you know, Cole's here for the physical side of stuff, but when it comes to romance, it's like kind of non-existent. So yeah, I just kind of feel like it's not a great match. Things get a bit more interesting when the couples meet face to face. Cole and Colleen basically both admit that they're both attracted to each other, that they're both each other's typical type. And I just kind of feel like, why do you feel the need to admit that after you're already booed up? I just kind of feel like, why is the need to say that? For me, that's already a red flag. But anyway, Cole was being messy and basically like bitching to the boys and basically saying how, you know, him and Zainab, they're going through issues. He doesn't like her passive aggressiveness. I feel like they had like arguments about, him being a bit messy. Basically says like, obviously, they're physically compatible and all that stuff, but she's not his typical type. I feel like when people bring that up, it's very clear like they're gonna make it work for now, but if their typical type came along and was willing to be with them, they would ditch. He came in, he was incredibly picky. I don't think now he's going to compromise on his pickiness, because he's already now saying, I have to compromise on this, I have to compromise on this. It's so much work for him to do all of this compromising. I just don't think that is sustainable. I feel like people who are picky like that, they need to be with the exact match, or they'll be single, or they'll continue settling and then, leaving when something better comes along. So for me, I feel like Cole is already kind of talking himself out of the relationship. Even though he's saying, oh, he's willing to compromise and this and this, for me, I'm hearing he's talking himself out of the relationship. Because that's what you do when you're thinking, oh, I have to compromise on this, I have to compromise on that. But you're going to sit down one day and think, oh, I'm compromising on actually quite a lot of stuff, And that's when you're just like, is it worth the compromising? And then that's when you start plotting to leave. So for me, it's not going to work out with Zayn. Interestingly enough, it seems like Matt is catching on to Colleen's performance. And he basically saying like, everything's going great. And that she hasn't really given him, anything substantial to be suspicious of. But, his gut is definitely telling him Colleen is fake. She's faking this. For, whatever her reason is, she's faking it. His gut's already telling him that. So for me, that kind of confirms to me, yeah, she is fake. Like, even Matt has that gut feeling that she's fake. So for me, that kind of confirms it. Yeah, it's got to come out. I'm not sure what her intentions are, but whatever, it's definitely not genuine. And it's definitely going to come out at some point, I believe. I feel that the biggest scandal of the night is Batiste. I feel like Batiste felt like he was like, a fun character. In the beginning, I thought he was genuine, but slowly but surely, he's just confirmed himself to be a playboy, to be a bit of a slime ball, to be a bit of a fuckboy, in my opinion. Trash, quite frankly. Very likable, but trash. Obviously, the couples meet in person. It's very clear that Batiste finds Raven physically attractive, sexually attractive. Raven is his type. The light-skinned baddie, that's clearly what his type is. And he basically said that he finds her more attractive than Nancy, which I just feel like is inappropriate to say out loud. Like, you don't need to say it out loud. Like, you guys see a camera and you just spilling your guts out. Where is the self-control? Where's the self-awareness? Say with your close friends, you say with your family, like, in private. You don't just say this out loud, honey. Not in front of the camera, not in front of these people you barely know. And then again, the kind of delusion, he's remixing things again, making out that he was Raven's first pick, and because he didn't choose her, that she's now gone off with SK. And that if he did pick her first, that she would be all up over him because he's like so irresistible. I'm thinking, that's not how it happened. Like, Raven wasn't even feeling you. Like, when you tried to break up with Raven was literally like, you thought I was feeling you? So for me, right off the bat, there is too much investment in Raven when you have a whole fiancé. Why are you this invested in another girl? It's red flags. It's giving settling. It's giving second option. It's giving lovely number 2. It's giving Nancy is your runner-up. Then he starts saying, oh, he regrets not picking her. Should have given her more time. He cut things off too early. And that's when I was like, Lord, poor Nancy. Because Nancy is a babe. Nancy is a sweetheart. Nancy doesn't deserve this. Especially from Batiste. Batiste keeps saying he gets all this female attention. I'm just thinking, what? You must be catching people on ovulation when they're weak, honey. To top it all off, he feels the need to tell Nancy about this, like literally verbatim. I was crying over Raven, but I decided to pick you. We're together now, but yeah, like I have like a attraction to Raven. I find her really attractive. Why would you now tell that to your fiance? And he's like, oh, I hope you appreciate me being honest with you. What? I feel like you basically told me, don't be surprised when I cheat on you with Raven. I feel like that's what he basically said. Like, I feel like he doesn't grasp the fact that this is his fiancée, not his girlfriend, not his you know, not somebody he's just dating and talking to. This is his fiance. The absolute disrespect. And Nancy is like, you know, what the fuck? Like, this is what I fucking get for picking the 25-year-old. I felt so bad for Nancy because the disrespect was just very wild. Very, very wild. Is Batiste and Raven gonna have an affair? I feel like possibly there could be, you know, quite a few affairs this season, because I definitely feel like Raven has got the ick of SK. Like, even the way that they were interacting when they met the other couples, she was standing away from him. Like, he was like trying to banter with her and she just like looked like she wanted to die inside. So I feel like Raven's definitely got the ick. So yeah, moving forward, I do not see potential in any of these couples at all, to be honest. I do not see, if any of them are to marry, maybe Alexa and Brendan, but even that, I do not see that going long term. I feel like, yeah, I feel like it's gonna be not many marriages this season either. I don't think any of these relationships are marriage material, with the exception of maybe Alexa and Brennan, maybe, but even them, I'm just kind of like, Matt is definitely gonna peep Colleen for being fake. They're not gonna get married, I don't think. Nancy, Batiste, I don't think they're gonna get married. I don't think they're gonna work out. We even see, like, in the coming up, Nancy is meeting up with Andrew. I'm just like, oh no, Batiste drove her back into the arms of that psycho. I don't think SK and Raven will make it to the aisle. Maybe Cole and Colleen might have an affair. But yeah, the trailer for the next set of episodes looked really juicy. A lot of drama with the families. I'm here for it. I definitely need a bit more drama. I feel like it was only kind of like the meetups with the couples face to face. That was like the only juicy bit, in my opinion. Everything else was a bit tame. But I'd be interested to hear what you guys think of the season so far. What do you think of the people as couples? What do you think about certain situations that have gone on? The rollout will be like, I will do a review every batch of episodes. And then the reunion, I think I will do a review and a reaction, I think, as well. But yeah, if you want to see me react to any of the episodes, you can request that on my Patreon. Subscribe if you haven't yet, and if you have, don't forget to put my notification bell on so you know my next set of reviews are dropping. I'm also trying to get to 4.4k subscribers. We just passed 4.3k. And thank you to everybody who has subscribed to my channel so far. And thank you to everybody who's taken the extra step to sign up to my Patreon. It really means a lot to me. Till next time, guys. Bye.